Hey guys, Sweeney here, and welcome to another episode of the Triggercast. Today we have on Todd Brown from MarketingFunnelAutomation.com. Now, Todd really focuses on building funnels using proven direct response strategies and building them from A to Z. Yes, he has different tactics and he's up on the latest tactics, but he's more about getting it right. Todd, thanks a lot for coming on today.
Well, thanks for having me, man. I love your podcast, dude, and so the opportunity to be here is fantastic, dude.
Thanks a lot. I mean, I'm always happy when I hear from other high-level people that they're like, hey, no, we actually do listen to it because you have a lot of good guests on and we're interested.
Yeah, man, you got great episodes, man. You are one of only probably like 3, maybe 4 tops podcasts that I listen to pretty regularly, man, and so good job.
Thank you. I'll take it. And I got to say I'm impressed because out of a lot of the people I've talked to, you're probably one of the few that I actually went and saw. I'm like, oh, man, he has a blog and he writes regularly and he has good content. This is crazy.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that tremendously as well, dude. Thanks.
So we're going to start off, just so listeners know, we're going to start off a little bit more in the kind of in the beginner space, so people that are more getting started, some of the theory and the foundational aspects, and then in the later half of the interview, we're going to jump into some of these more advanced and high-level tactics that if you have an offer currently, or you have a VSL, you have a funnel, you're going to be able to interchange some of these in there, and you're going to start creating more revenue. But first, let's start with the foundation. Let's get it right, as you say. So we have a few different subjects here. So the product ladder, and the single most important marketing lesson. Where would we start with first here, you think, Todd?
So I think the best place to start for the new and novice marketer looking to build their first successful, profitable funnel is to really spend just a little bit of time talking about the big idea. And really the thing that I want everybody to get is that before you think about the tactics of your marketing funnel, before you think about should I start with a low-priced offer, should I start with a high-priced offer, how many upsells should I have, how many downsells should I have, should I send them to a 4-part video sequence or should I send them to a VSL, before you even think about that and before you even think about any copy, writing a headline or anything like that, the first thing that you really need to invest time in thinking about is the idea behind your marketing funnel message. And what I mean by that is, what is it that you are going to say? What is it that you are going to convey? How is it that you're going to say it? How is it that you're going to convey it to the market to grab their attention, to show them that what you're going to say to them through your marketing funnel is new, is unique, is different, is fresh, is exciting, has a benefit, and is something that they can grasp immediately. And so, Sweeney, we were talking about before we went live this whole idea, like, marketers really need to understand that before tactics, before somebody requests your lead magnet, before somebody decides whether they're going to watch your video, before somebody makes the decision to engage with what it is that you have going on your website, you have to prevent what's called mental opt-out. And opt-out is when a prospect hits the first entry point of your funnel. Let's call it a squeeze page, a lead capture page. Mental opt-out is when they come to your page, they read your headline, and they say, oh, I've seen that before. Oh, I've heard that before. Oh, here, more of the same, more of what so-and-so is talking about that, or yeah, I think I've heard that before. What happens is they immediately experience this mental opt-out, and boom, they're gone. And so the whole idea, the whole premise, if you will, behind your marketing funnel needs to be something that grabs their attention, is exciting, compelling, and again is new, fresh, unique, different, timely, has a built-in promise. And so to kind of wrap up this little discussion, it starts with understanding what have competitors already promised to your prospects. What have they already promised? What have they already said? What are competitors talking about? What are competitors promising? Because if you come out with the same type of promise, the same type of hook, the same messaging, the same idea, you're going to trigger that mental opt-out. The way you design a big money marketing funnel, as I like to call it, is by first and foremost developing a big idea behind your marketing message. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, and the mental opt-out is an expression that I understand, but it's the first time I've heard it, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, if people are hitting your page and they're not even agreeing with the idea, your opt-in rates are never going to be much, and your sales are going to be obviously horrible.
Yeah.
Now, is there specific ways, I talked with Justin Brookle about this a little bit, and he kind of called it the $1,000,000 question, but as far as differentiating and trying to make your idea new and fresh, is there some sort of hack or trick to that, or is it just doing the research, finding out what's already there by your competitors, and going, hey, how can I spin this in a different direction?
So I don't know if I would say there's a hack, but I'll tell you the kind of the process in order to come up with a big idea. First of all, first and foremost, in order to come up with a big idea, you've got to generate lots of ideas. So, it's not about sitting down and simply, consciously trying to come up with one single idea and make that one single idea a big idea. You've got to come up with a lot of ideas, and then you're going to sift through ideas. Now, when I say ideas, really kind of, and this isn't a hack, this is really far from a hack, but this is kind of the process that you have to go through. You have to look for connections between seemingly disconnected concepts, disconnected things that the average marketer doesn't see a connection between. And so let me give you an example. So one of the most successful marketing campaigns to ever come out of the financial publishing industry was a promotion a couple of years ago that came out of Stansberry Research, and it was called The End of America. It was about a 75-minute VSL. 75-minute VSL. So for all you guys out there, guys and gals listening that think you have to keep your VSLs below 15 minutes or 18 minutes, it was, over an hour long. And this thing generated over $250 million. It was arguably the most successful marketing campaign ever to come out of the financial publishing industry. So that, now, mind you, that this hour-long presentation was designed to sell a simple investing newsletter. I think it was a $49 a year subscription to a simple investing newsletter. But now, so how does that tie in with this whole concept of the end of America? Well, the premise, the idea behind this promotion was that whether you believe this or not, whether you're into this or not, is neither here nor there. It's about the lesson. The idea was that the dollar is eventually no longer going to be the world's reserve currency, and because of the debt that the United States is piling up, the United States isn't going to be able to pay back its creditors, and the U.S. economy is going to come crashing down. And so because of that, you need to have your money in the right investments. So the connection, right, is in this, well, the U.S. dollar is spiraling out of control, right? It's going down, and this was, again, years ago. And this concept of, well, what is something that I could say to the prospect that would immediately grab their attention, that nobody else is talking about, and that is connected to this idea of the dollar spiraling, the end of America. Right? In essence, it was the end of the American economy, but it was a connection there that you don't necessarily see on the surface. The other thing that I want to say that I think is extremely valuable and is extremely important is that it's no longer this idea of, it's no longer screaming a bigger promise. One of the things that you see today is a lot of marketers, when they start to think about their marketing message, what they're going to communicate in their funnel, regardless of what their funnel looks like, they think that the answer is to make a bigger, bolder, more hyped up, more exaggerated promise than their competitors, right? The novice marketer.
No longer 7-minute abs to 6-minute abs.
And then it's 5-minute abs, and it's take this pill and you'll lose 30 pounds in 24 hours. Well, the reality is, and this is something that Eugene Schwartz talked about, one of the greatest ad men of all time, talked about in the greatest marketing book of all time, which is Breakthrough Advertising, he talked about how prospects progress through the 5 different levels of marketplace sophistication. And what that is just as prospects are exposed to more and more marketing and advertising messages, they become less responsive to those similar types of messages. Well, most markets today are at like a level 3, level 4, where those hyped up promises just do not have credibility anymore. They're not believable anymore. And so what do? You don't make a bigger promise. You come out with a bigger idea, an idea that will first grab their attention, keep their attention, get them to say, hey, this is something new, different, unique. I've never heard anybody talk about this. And there's an implied, if not explicit, promise being conveyed. That's the first most valuable thing that I can teach any marketer as it relates to building a successful funnel. That cool?
Yeah, and I love the example of the end of the America, and especially it being 75 minutes long. I think that definitely touches on. I don't know if it would be considered an educational VSL, but the education aspect, the entertainment aspects, if they were able to hold someone's attention for 75 minutes, they did something right.
Yeah, well, let me say this. Let's talk about that for just 2 minutes, and cut me off if I ramble. But first of all, I think the idea that people will only watch a video for 15 minutes or 18 minutes or 20 minutes is ridiculous. Not only has it been proven wrong with this one example alone and many others. In fact, when I was running the marketing at Strategic Profits, we had a webinar, an evergreen webinar that I still think is used a little bit today. That was 3 hours, and it was producing about, at its peak, $82 per registrant. So imagine a webinar that's 3 hours, not 60 minutes, not 45 minutes, not 90 minutes, 3 hours, and it was producing over $80 per registration. So the idea that people don't watch videos for longer than 15 minutes, 20 minutes, well, people watch movies and television shows that are an hour long, an hour and a half, 2 hours all the time. The fact is that it needs to be compelling, it needs to be interesting, it needs to be entertaining, and there needs to be value that the prospect feels they're getting from it. The other thing that I want to mention, that I really wanted to mention, was you referenced this idea of the content being educational. Well, that's one of the core principles that I try to teach to all my students and clients, is this idea that every marketing funnel legitimately is built on what I call EBM content, or education-based marketing. And to really just give some application to listeners and viewers, let me say this: so you've got your big idea, right? You've come up with what you believe is a big idea. It meets that criteria of new, unique, different, fresh, timely, interesting, immediately understandable. Now it's time to start to decide, well, what am I going to say? What's my marketing funnel going to consist of in terms of my messaging? Well, it's at that point that you've got to ask your question. You've got to ask yourself this question: what do prospects need to believe at the end of your funnel in order to buy? Now, let me break this down a little bit further. So, and I want to take a step back, and I'm going to give you something that it is worth its weight in gold if you get this and pay attention. So, a lot of marketers don't understand that there is a huge difference between marketing and selling, right? It was Peter Drucker, one of the greatest management gurus of all time, said the job of marketing is to make selling superfluous, to make it unnecessary, right? And so, when you talk about your product's features, benefits, advantages, your offer, your bonuses, that's selling. When you talk about the prospect and their situation and the best solution for their needs, that's marketing. The bulk of your funnel is marketing, meaning you're talking to the prospect about their problem, their situation, and what is the best solution for them before you even talk about your product. Our job is through our marketing, which I'm gonna get to the EBM content in a second. Our job is through the marketing to get the prospect at the end to say, yeah, you know what, Sweeney's right. That's what I need to do. That is the perfect solution. Now I just need to know how to get it. at which point you introduce your product, which gives them that solution, and now they're thankful for you putting out an offer in front of them. So with that being said, so what do you say when you're marketing? Well, you have to ask yourself, what is it that prospects need to believe in order to buy? What do they need to believe about you? What do they need to believe about your product? What do they need to believe about themselves? Then it's your job through your marketing funnel, through that portion which is your marketing message, your education-based content, to educate them so that they have those beliefs. And we do that by making claims and then offering proof. Claims and offering proof. And the analogy that I like to use is, think of yourself as a prosecutor, and your job as a prosecutor is to get the jury to find the defendant guilty in the end. Well, there are certain things that jury needs to believe before you ask them to decide their verdict, before you give your closing arguments, right? And so there are things that they need to believe. As a prosecutor, you present those points, you present a preponderance of proof for each of those points, leaving them hopefully to no other conclusion than guilty. In your case, it's leaving them to no other conclusion than that is the exact solution that I need. I see it now. I get it. Thank you. That was valuable. You proved it. Beneficial. Now I know what I need. Then you roll it out to them and you offer it to them, and they buy like crazy.
So a lot more work is in convincing them of the idea than it is in selling them on the offer.
Yeah, because that is really the difference between, that's the difference between selling and marketing. And that's why, that's why this particular company, this brand, which is just about 2 years old, was strategically named Marketing Funnel Automation, not Sales Funnel. And when I talk about funnels, I always talk about marketing funnels, not sales funnels, because a sales funnel really, it's kind of funny too, because along those lines, what most marketers think is a sales funnel is this: when they think about sales funnels or when they're taught sales funnels, they think it's like, all right, my sales funnel is a $47 product that then goes to a series of emails that then goes to, if they buy, it goes to an upsell at this price. If they don't buy, a downsell. If they take the upsell, then it goes up to another upsell. And that's what they think is the marketing funnel. That's really just the offer sequence that comes at the end of the marketing funnel. Right? It's a marketing funnel. Marketing's job is to create desire and demand for your specific solution. So it's two things. It's certainly having an irresistible killer offer, right? That is one of the big leverage points in any funnel. But even before you present the offer, the better the job you do at marketing, creating that desire by establishing those beliefs, by making claims and offering proof, the more people are going to take advantage of your offer.
And I'm curious, how does this factor into the better performing campaigns that you've seen? Like, how often, because the more you say this, the more it makes me think, wow, the people that have, like, say, for lack of a better example, the product launch formula, by doing the content, by building the desire, by getting them to believe in the idea, then the actual launch of the product's the easiest part, where it seems like more people are focused on getting them into the sales funnel rather than getting them into the marketing funnel. Does that kind of make sense?
It does, and I completely agree with you. And I think that's partially, there are a lot of factors with Jeff's product launch formula. A lot of things at play. The fact that it's event-driven, and you know all the things with product launch. But certainly, there is a lot more education going on. And when I say education, I don't mean education for the sheer sake of educating prospects. I mean, we're educating them in a way where we are furthering the sale with everything we say and everything we teach them. So if you look at product launch formula, and you dissect a series of, call it, 3 videos. So, right, so you've got, let's say in the typical today product launch is a series of 4 videos. And what do you really have? 3 of the videos are educational, EBM content, if you will. And then the 4th video is the offer video. The 4th video is where the selling takes place. The 3 videos are where all of the marketing takes place. Well, what's happening through those videos? There are a series of beliefs that are being established in the prospect's mind, whether it be, like there are questions like, does this work? Does this work for people like me? Will this work for me? Does this work in my niche? How fast does it work? Is it easy? Right? All of these questions that have to be answered in the mind of the prospect so that at the end, once they have all those beliefs, once they have the beliefs that they need to have, then it becomes easy. When you make them the offer, they've already bought into it. And so, yeah, I think that it goes back to a lot of marketers online blending in their own mind selling with marketing and not realizing that it's different.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and it's one of the first times I've kind of heard it put that way. And so I'm curious, with that being said, how do you feel about the kind of lead magnet, tripwire, core offer kind of method? Where does that fit in? Like, I know, for example, I just recently wrote a sales page for a tripwire, and part of the sales page is making claims, making proof. So part of the sales page, I feel like you're almost kind of doing the marketing, and then the very bottom, when you ask them to buy, is the sales. So does that kind of overlap sometimes and intersect?
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes back to this question that I'm asked all the time, at least 4 times every week by a new client. I'm asked, well, how long should my funnel be? And this ties in with what you just said, because the reality is that there is no one perfect length to a marketing funnel, just like there's no perfect length to a sales letter. A sales letter should be as long as necessary to get the job done, no shorter, no longer. And the same thing holds true for a marketing funnel. However, there are a couple of trends that I see. One is the more complex the product is, the more pieces, the more benefits, the more features. Typically, the more you're going to have to communicate, because the more beliefs you're going to have to establish to get them to buy. And to add one other thing on top of that, the same thing with price point. Typically, when you are selling a higher price product, there's going to be more that needs to be communicated to create that desire, right? There are going to be more beliefs that need to be established at the end in order to get them to buy. So when you're talking about a low-priced front-end offer, let's call it a $10 report for argument's sake, well, that's why you can have a very simple VSL, video sales letter, or even a short form sales letter, because the beginning of that sales letter really is the marketing, and the end, when you present the offer, when you present the product, the features, the benefits, the advantages, the risk reversal, the guarantee, the bonuses, that's the selling. And so you are able to do the marketing and selling right on that page. So yeah, you're absolutely right. See, okay. The thing to the way to maybe simplify this a little bit is imagine if all you did was bring a prospect to a web page that all it did was just say, this is the product, these are the features, these are the benefits, this is the price, this is the guarantee, and that's it. That's only selling. There is no marketing, there is no creating desire, there is no establishing value, there is no claims and proof that you're presenting. All you're doing is just selling. So when you are presenting your case for why they need your product, why it's the perfect solution for their situation, that's marketing, because we're talking about them, their needs, their situation.
Gotcha. Well, damn fine explanation. Started out with something simple, and I think anyone would have gotten a lot of that, advanced or beginner. Now, we also have here the product ladder, so I think that kind of fits well into this as well, as kind of how to build out your products.
Yeah.
And where to start.
Yeah, man, and that's a great topic. So one of the things that I think that gets talked about often, that I first bought into myself many years ago, before I was taught differently, was a lot of people are taught today to start by building out your back end. And just for the new folks that are listening, in the world of direct response marketing, the biggest, most successful direct marketing or direct response companies, they view their marketing in 2 categories. There's what we call the front end, which is all of the marketing that you do to prospects to turn a prospect into a new customer. It's all the marketing that you do to generate the very first sale. Back-end marketing is all of the marketing that you do with existing customers to generate the second and third and fourth purchase and so on, right? The purpose of the front end, and Sweeney, we were talking about this just very briefly before we got on here live. The purpose of the front end, and this is the way, this is not me, this is the way the most successful companies do this, right? So I'm sharing with you the way the most successful companies operate. The goal and objective of the front end, of all the marketing you're doing with prospects, is to generate the maximum number of new customers at break even. That means if you invest $1,000 in Facebook advertising, or $500 or $100 or $50 in Facebook advertising, your goal is to generate $50 worth of new customers. You invest $50, your goal, your objective on the front end is to acquire $50 worth of new customers. Now, before I go on to the back end, let me just explain something to you. So for those of you that are like, what? Where do I make money? I'm in this to generate a profit. First of all, let me share something with you. In the direct response world, in a direct response business, the profit is in the back end. The profit is in the second and third and fourth transaction that you generate with an existing customer. On the front end, if you break even, you invest $50, you get back $50 worth of sales, customers. Understand, number one, you're no worse off than before. It was an investment. You invested the $50, you got it back. You're not out $50, you're now at the same spot you were before. But now you have X number of new customers that you're going to put through your back-end marketing where you're going to generate your profit, and you have a handful of leads, of prospects that you didn't convert via that first funnel that you'll have the ability to follow up with, make additional offers, affiliate offers, and monetize over time. And so you're in a great position. You've just acquired customers for free. You've acquired customers for free, an appreciating asset, an asset that's going to be worth more money to your business as you put out more and more offers over time. The back end is, again, where you're just marketing additional products and services and offers that are going to be of value to your customers, to your customers. Now, the thing that most marketers have been taught is they've been taught, as I was, start with your back end. Build your big back end products first. Build the big $1,000 home study course if you're in the information business, or build the $500 gig, and then break it apart, and so that you've got front ends. Whereas the way the biggest companies in the direct response world do it is they do it reverse. And they start with the front end. And the reason why they start with the front end is because it allows you to maintain a pulse on the market. It allows you to find out very quickly what resonates with the market, what excites the market, what is the market willing to whip out their wallet, their credit card for, and buy. Once you see that, then you build out your back end products accordingly. So you don't start with the back end and then extract out down to the front end. You start with the front end, you identify what's resonating with your market, because you can do it very quickly, especially like Sweeney, when you are, if you're using an extremely low-cost front-end offer, like a $10 report or what some people call a tripwire, you could create those quickly. You could have those created very quickly to find out what really resonates with the market. Then when you see, then you've got the ability to build out a whole sequence, a whole ladder of products. And you see this all the time with a lot of companies. Some years ago, Bill Glazer at GKIC with Dan Kennedy, I remember he launched his book. I forget what the heck it was called. It's on my shelf behind me, but Outrageous Advertising.
There's a lot of books there.
Yeah, it was like Outrageous Advertising, and it was an awesome book, by the way. And from that, and from the response, and I think it actually started with a presentation that he gave at a live workshop. He then built out like a whole big, tremendous live event around outrageous advertising, and there was a whole like continuity program, and he built out a whole back end based on the response that he got. But imagine building out the whole back end and then realizing that what you just built out doesn't resonate with the market. Yes, savvy marketers, marketers that have been at this game a long time, that have been in a market for a long time, it's likely that I know what the market wants. But for the new marketer, you start with the front and you build out the back once you've identified what resonates with the market. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I guess the problem is it runs against what everyone else is traditionally taught. Even with kind of the newer quote unquote tripwire training and lead magnet training, you're taught product first, splinter tripwire, splinter lead magnet. So it's a little bit harder to kind of go, okay, what can we do as a lead magnet? Then how can this lead into a tripwire? And then how can we get this into an actual product?
Yeah, no, it's definitely the idea of splintering out the back end into a core offer and then into a tripwire and ultimately into a lead magnet. Yeah, it's a cool, friendly concept, and I'm not saying that it doesn't. I'm not saying that it can't work, and I'm not saying that it doesn't work. Ryan is a good friend, and his stuff is great. But the issue is that if you've missed the mark with the topic, then you could invest a tremendous amount of time creating a bunch of products that are just off the mark. And I can tell you from personal experience that having done that on more than one occasion, it's not fun, it's costly, and it sucks up a tremendous amount of time. And so the other thing is, let me throw this out to really be contrarian for a second. Even the whole idea, and I'm not, there's lots of different ways to skin a cat, right? There's not, look, I said this the other night on some webinar that look, we could line up 10 different very successful marketers, and we could look at the tactical setup of their funnel, meaning one guy starts with a tripwire, one guy starts with an evergreen webinar, one guy has a free plus shipping offer, one guy has an application process, blah, blah, blah. And you'll see that they're all successful with those models. So first and foremost, there's not only one model that works. But to look at the lead magnet for 1 second, it's kind of funny because the whole lead magnet concept really came from the offline direct response world years ago when they were using two-step marketing. And two-step marketing was when they would run an ad and they would say, call this toll-free number to request your free information packet, right? And so then the person would call the toll-free number, leave their contact information, and then they would get a packet in the mail. Well, the way the idea of the lead magnet today differs from that world, differs from the way it was done, was that back then, that packet that got delivered was the marketing and sales vehicle. There was no separate lead magnet. There was no piece of content that they offered just for free to build a list. There was no piece of software that got created just to entice people to jump on the list, because oftentimes, especially if it's not done correctly, what that does is load up your list with freebie seekers. It loads up your list with poor quality prospects that were only interested in the freebie, whereas the way it was always done, like Dan Kennedy and Jay Abraham and Gary Halbert, all the greats of direct response marketing, was that the information that got delivered was one and the same as the marketing and sales material. The thing that they delivered was the marketing and sales sales material. And so, like me today, for example, and really, in essence, if you look at, we were talking about product launches before. Well, look, when somebody opts into a product launch, they're opting in to get what? A series of 4 videos. So what is being delivered is the marketing and sales vehicle. It's not something disconnected. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And what I thought you were going to say is that in the old days, the reason why they did it that way would be to test an offer before they built out the product and to kind of see how warm the response was before they they built a whole product out. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
well, certainly, you know, that's a great point. The point I was really trying to make was like, you know, a lead magnet is, can be very effective.
got it.
You know, hello?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, a lead magnet can be very effective, man. Like it can be. I'm not saying that we've got funnels with lead magnets, so I don't want anybody to think I'm discounting that at all. I'm just saying that the mistake that marketers make is when the lead magnet is disconnected from the marketing funnel, and it's not the first piece of the marketing funnel. At a bare minimum, if you use a lead magnet, it should be the first piece of the marketing funnel, whether that marketing funnel is, one video, two videos, a video and a PDF, whatever it may be. Does that make sense?
It does, it does. And I think it's kind of a different way of looking at it to a degree, because if you have, I'm thinking about one of ours where we have a case study video, and it's like, how can we reframe this so that we're giving them a little bit more information, we're being a bit more educational, and then we're also showing them this proof, and then at the end it's like, hey, by the way, if you want this blueprint, grab it, go ahead, rather than having that disconnect between, hey, here's the lead magnet and then here's the tripwire, kind of blending them a bit more.
Well, so it really becomes, hopefully, I'm going to assume that the case study demonstrates success that somebody had with the process or system that you're selling in the tripwire, right? So
yeah.
Is that the case? So then it becomes very easy, because really, in essence, you can have a video that is kind of a combination case study and education by explaining why the system is so effective, using the case study as the proof element to prove that it is effective, and explain why it's the process that they want to use. And then you go into, and here's an opportunity, we put it all, laid it out for you in a $10 report, and you can grab it. So, here's the thing that to like really kind of recognize that. And I know that this is probably bigger picture stuff than what your folks are accustomed to, but hopefully everybody's getting value from this. That like really case studies, testimonials, those are really proof points, right? When somebody says like this was incredibly simple, that is a proof point that you use after you make a claim that this is incredibly simple and anybody could do it and you don't even need technical expertise. For example, listen to what Bob said. He said it was the easiest thing he ever did and he loved it and blah, blah, blah. Plus, if you say, and this is something that you can get, you can triple your money in 24 hours. For example, let me walk you through this case study. And the case study serves as the proof point to back up what you just said. That's a subtle point that I just want to make sure everybody grasps, because the majority of marketers, they will kind of, they'll stuff their presentation with testimonials and case studies almost at times willy-nilly, where there's no rhyme or reason. It's not strategically placed. Testimonials, case studies are proof points for what it is that you're saying. So a case study video fits perfectly with education-based marketing content.
All right. Now let's shift gears here and go to some of, you literally have a product called, 26 Advanced Marketing Tactics. So let's shift gears here and go over a few of these tactics. I have a few written down. Let me see. All right, so I have a few written down from one of your posts, and then I have a few written down that we had talked about.
Sure.
So first, let's go over the ones that you talked about. So you talk about, first off here, you talk about a timestamp video and resumable video.
Yeah, and so this is such a simple, all of these are fairly simple. This one is brain dead simple. And so it's the use of what's really now being called resumable video. Resumable video is just really what the title implies. It gives a prospect the opportunity or the ability to pick up in your VSL where they left off. So in other words, let's say you've got an hour-long VSL, hypothetically, and somebody watches 30 minutes of it, and then they bail. Now, what happens in most marketing funnels is you're going to follow up with those people, right? And ultimately, you're going to drive them back to that video. But if that video is done the way most videos are played, or most marketers are streaming their videos, or whatever you want to call it, the person has to start over. And so who the heck's going to watch that half hour again? Now, of course, if you have player controls on there, that's a totally different ball game. I don't recommend that you have player controls on your VSLs because it gives your prospects the ability to skip your marketing message. They're going to miss, they're going to wind up forwarding it to hear the price, and they're not going to have any context for that price. There's not going to have been a value build for that. So we don't use player controls. However, when you use resumable video, they come back to the page, and on the video it says start over or pick up where you left off, something like that. If they press pick up where I left off, they're able to start at that 30-minute mark and finish it without having to go back. And so what that means is that you are going to get a lot more of your prospects, and we internally track this, and I'll tell you the tool that you can use to try this for free in just a second. But you're going to get a heck of a lot more of your prospects to go back and finish your video, and see the offer, which they need to see the offer if they're gonna buy when you use resumable video. Now, there's a couple of different applications that you can use. There's one from digitalkickstart.com. He's a buddy of mine, Mark Thompson. He recently launched a product, but the one we use internally is Wistia. And Wistia has a labs feature that will do that for you for free. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Wistia has trial
10 videos or something, 6, 10,
something like that. So you can, right? If it's 10, that's a lot of videos, right? That you can have on there. And so you get 10 free videos with Wistia, and then just use their resumable feature in their lab section, and and watch what happens.
You don't have any stats by any chance?
Not in front of me. I don't. I could give that. If you remind me after we're done, I'll dig them up for you and I'll give you some. That you can.
It's one of those weird things how it's like when you hear someone doesn't do a lot for their abandoned carts, and it's like, do you realize how much you're missing out on? I mean, we don't have a resumable VSL on our current offer, and I'm probably going to go plug one in because it's the same kind of thing. You're like, well, the video's this long. People have probably watched some of it. I mean, we're not over that 30-minute mark, at least with this video, but I can imagine any video over even 15 or 20 minutes, no one wants to re-watch that if they don't want to. If they click start over, hey, by all means.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's worth mentioning, man. You really just mentioned an area of a marketing funnel that, even though most marketers know that there's a massive shopping cart abandonment rate, most marketers don't have something in place to follow up with those folks. I mean, so that in of itself can be a game changer. If you really want to, I'll just throw this out. Number one, you should be tracking your shopping cart abandonment. So when you have a VSL, let's say, and somebody clicks the add to cart button and they go over to your order form and they bail, you should absolutely have a follow-up process in place for those prospects. Do not follow up with those prospects the same way that you follow up with the prospects who never finished your video or finished the video, let's say, and didn't click the add to cart button. Those are individuals that finished watching your video. Let's say if you're using a delayed add to cart button, let's just say at least, finished watching your video, clicked the add to cart button, and then bailed for whatever reason. You absolutely have to have a follow-up process. And I think you mentioned Justin Brook. Justin Brook, I had Justin, I had a client come in for an entire day, and I brought Justin in for an hour to meet with the client on his media buying. And one of the things that Justin said, and I've shared this with everybody since, is that you should also be retargeting off of your shopping cart abandons. And so that's a tactic, if you will, right there that you implement, and it can be worth its weight in gold for you guys.
Yeah, shopping cart abandonment, obviously people can easily reach out to me. If you're listening to the show, I would hope you'd be able to find my email. It's really not that hard. If you've aren't doing anything with shopping cart abandonment. I mean, retargeting, two-step checkouts, phone calls. That's one of those big ones that if you're not doing anything, reach out and we'll get you set up. So here now we also have the dynamic exit direct based on time on page.
Yeah, and so this is and there's actually a plugin. And again, you remind me, I'll get you the name of the plugin so that you can, so everybody can pick up. Like, there's a plugin now, I think it's like $20 or something like that. I can't remember for the life of me what the name of it is, but this is, it does exactly this. And this idea is that you've probably seen a lot of pages where, let's say you go to leave a VSL and there's an exit redirect that pops up, and oftentimes it will, let's say, redirect to a long-form sales letter, right? So let's say your prospect goes to a VSL, they bail, click, pop, redirect, yeah, long-form sales letter. Well, this tactic is you have the ability to redirect to different destination pages based on time on page. So imagine, so Sweeney, so let's say you've got a 15-minute video, and so if you have the typical exit redirect, they're being redirected to the same page whether they bail 2 minutes in or whether they see the offer and bail. What this gives you the ability to do is it gives you the ability to have a different redirect, let's say for somebody who bails before the offer, let's say somebody who bails before the offer, somebody who bails after they've seen the price. And so now you have the ability to put out a pinpoint targeted message to the prospect based on when they are bailing in your message. As simple as that.
I like it. Number 3 here, we got second chance offers for upsells and downsells.
Yeah, so this is one of those also that's just money being left on the table. So this is, and I wish I don't remember where I first, I can't remember where I first learned this principle, but so here's the deal. When a lot of marketers, when they'll present an upsell, they'll present the upsell or the upsells as one-time offers. I remember the time when one-time OTOs were huge and they were big, going back, and it's this principle that, because it's an OTO, because it's a one-time offer, it's got like extreme scarcity. So it's a scarcity-driven and an urgency-driven play, right? That's really, you're saying if you leave this page, you'll never see this offer again, like it's now or never. You bail, you're screwed, see ya, wouldn't want to be it kind of thing. So the reality is, first and foremost, for a new customer, it's not the most pleasant way to start off a relationship, especially, again, when you recognize that the money is on the back end, the profit is on the back end, you're trying to acquire an asset that's going to appreciate in value, so you want to start that relationship right. You don't want to do something that makes them feel uncomfortable before they've even had the opportunity to dive in and go through your product. They don't know yet that you deliver the goods. They don't know that your product is phenomenal and whatnot. And so here's the thing. I don't recommend that you present your upsells as a one-time offer. What it allows you to do is it allows you to go back to those prospects that skip that offer and make them a second chance offer. So typically what we do with clients and even our own funnels is 48 hours later, we will go back. Let's say we only had one upsell, just for argument's sake, and they skipped that. So they bought the main front end product and then they skipped the upsell. Well, it gives us the ability 48 hours later to go back after they've had a chance to see the product, see that we deliver the goods, see that we over deliver, see that there are unadvertised bonuses that they've either gotten or that are on their way, see that they've had a good buying experience. And now we go back and we give them a second chance to take advantage of that upsell. Now, when we do it, we've had the best results with changing up the offer. So depending on what type of funnel you're running, so sometimes, if the upsell was originally $97, when we make the second chance offer, it's 2 payments of $49, let's say. 2 payments of $49. The other thing that we do is they are also one click. So now, I know not CRM can do that, but there are a lot of applications today that you can do that really simplify the process. But yeah, and so you will see a bump often, 8 to 15% in revenue just by adding in those second chance offers, because again, recognize the psychology. They see that you deliver the goods, that you delivered a stellar product, and so that's how second chance offers work.
Gotcha. Now, time-wise, I know we're kind of getting there. I have a few more small tactics that I'd like to go over briefly, if you
Yeah,
are okay with
fire
that.
away. Let's do it. Yeah.
All right. So we have three, and I'm going to call them sexy instead of cool. Three sexy sales conversion tactics. First one is animated GIF image in email.
Yeah, so that I think I stole that from Ryan Dice, to be honest with you. So let me give him credit for this. And all it is basically, you know that the right image in an email correspondence can do a lot to capture attention, can do a lot to break up, copy, make it more, easier on the eye. And so the animated GIF is just that. It's an image that is animated. It almost has a feel of a snippet of a video. So so oftentimes we'll take a video and we'll have 3 stills taken from the video, and we'll have that turned into an animated GIF. There are even free sites that you can go to. If you just Google free animated GIF maker, there are even sites that'll allow you to upload a video, like a 1-minute video, and they'll create an 8-second animated GIF. Pop that bad boy right into your email autoresponder, and it's definitely attention getting for sure.
Yeah, we've been liking GIFs and trying to use them more as well. Now, number 2, we have, this one is pretty cool, a countdown timer within your email messages.
Yeah, so a buddy of mine, Jack Bourne, he's actually the creator and founder of AW Pro Tools. He is, worked with Perry Marshall. He created an application. Also, I'll get you the link for this if you want to check it out. I think it's like $10 or something like that. And it allows you to create, dynamic countdown timers that you can then just paste right into your email autoresponder. And you can have it do a variety of things. You can have it display a closed message. You can have it just count down to 0. You can change the destination once it counts down to 0. So if somebody clicks on it, it'll go to a closed page. But it just adds another element to the email to grab attention, right? Look, we all, hopefully most folks listening have heard the Marketing 101 AIDA, right? Attention, interest, desire, action. The very first thing, you've got to get attention. And some of these little things, they're just little tricks, little pattern interrupts from the norm that get attention, make it pop, and get you to engage. And so that's one of them.
And then the third, this one we already mentioned, resumable video sales letter. You also did talk about, and this will be the last one we go over, the educational VSL method, or I kind of call it the native VSL.
Yeah, that's a great name. That was probably better. I like that name better. I should have renamed it that.
You still got time.
No, so this was a great tip that, and I don't do this enough, to be honest, but this was a great tip that I got from Mark Ford, or Michael Masterson is his pen name. Best-selling author. He's like the brains behind Agora, $600 million a year company. And what he said to me was, he said that that they deliver more and more pure content videos that look identical to their sales videos. So most of the videos that they use, the sales videos that they use, are your typical ugly video sales letter, text, white background, that's it. And so what he said is, when you are delivering your content videos in a completely different format, where it's a traditional PowerPoint or Keynote theme, and then when it comes to your sales videos, it's white background and text, you're training your market to be able to immediately identify when this is pure content, when this is a sales pitch. You're training them over and over and over. And so when you utilize your pure content videos in the same exact format, you're training them to consume those videos. You're training them to engage with all of your videos. And when done right, a lot of times they won't even realize it's a VSL to sell a product until you get to the point where you're gonna segue into the offer, because they both are educational. Just because one is educating in a certain way where you're building desire and furthering the sale, it's not like they're aware of that, right? You're establishing these beliefs through education. So yeah, and I said, wow, I get it. That is so freaking brilliant, because again, you do it the other way. You're training them to, like, it's that whole principle of, it's the opposite of the pattern interrupt. Right? Like, if you studied any of John Benson's stuff, he talks about at the beginning of a VSL using some pattern interrupt, something that the prospect doesn't expect, something that they weren't anticipating. Say something, show them something, do something at the beginning. Well, when this is like when you use the typical PowerPoint when you're educating and the ugly video sales letter when you're selling, you're training them sale content. So there you go.
I like it. And are you still using that conversion cast bump offer for recurring revenue, or not as much?
Yeah. We actually we test everything, and it's kind of funny. I recommend. I tell everybody also, like, that everybody needs to test. Not be like I could tell you that something worked really well in our market. That does not mean that it's going to work well in your market. And the last thing that I'll say, and I think this is such a great point for everybody to think about, and that's really weird for me to say it, being that I'm making the point, but nevertheless, is this, like, this is another subtle point when it comes to testing. Just because you test something, let's say, for example, you test a delayed add to cart button, right? Because there are two sides, two schools. Some, yes, delayed add to cart. Some, no, delayed add to cart. Well, let's say you tested in your market for your VSL on your front end product, that first product, whether it's a tripwire or whatever. And let's say it, the displayed add to cart pulls better. Right? Meaning the delayed add to cart button does not do well. That does not mean that nowhere else in your marketing funnel should you test that delayed add to cart button. Like, in other words, there are times when the front end offer might do better with a delayed add to cart button, but the very first add-on or upsell offer might not. And so you not only have to test these things for your own funnel with your own product in your own market, you need to test these different elements at the different stages in your funnel, because there's a different the prospects have a different psychology, right? Like, when they are going through your initial VSL, they're a prospect. They haven't yet accepted or bought into that hope. They're still reluctant to accept it, right? Because they're afraid they're going to get let down. Once they make a buying decision, there's a different mindset, a different psyche that they have. And so you've got to test these different elements at the different stages in your funnel.
Very, very good point, and a good way to close out on the tactics. Well, Todd, thanks a lot for coming on. I mean, way to really knock a few home runs out there. Appreciate it. Stay on for a second afterwards. I got something cool to show you.
I will, man. And like I said, again, no joke. And, good job, man. You put out a great podcast. And I don't remember how I stumbled on it, but there were many times, this is no joke, many times when I said, wow, this dude's pretty solid, man. Wow. And so, yeah, kudos, man, for putting out a great product, a great podcast, and doing a phenomenal job, man.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that, man. And guys, everybody, listeners, Todd Brown, MarketingFunnelAutomation.com. He has a lot of good blog posts. I'm legitimately impressed. They're easy to read. They all have different images, different subjects. Seriously impressed. It's worth reading, worth checking out, especially if you enjoyed this interview. Thanks a lot, Todd, for coming on.
You got it. Thank you, Sweeney.